welcome to the Press Box. I'm Vanessa Johnson. For the next 30 minutes, I'll be your host. With me are Ty Reynolds and Jay Marcks. How you guys doing?
All right.
Jeff, you gained a little weight lately.
Yeah, yeah. That's that regimen I'm working on. That's all right.
Well, I'd like to take this time to remind our viewers that this is a live show. So if you have any questions that you want to ask, give us a call at 873-6713. Okay, guys, let's talk about baseball. The Braves management are facing the decision to move a player to the minors.
Well, I really think that this is more or less going to be an easy decision. This team needs Terry Pendleton. I think they need him badly. They need to get him in the lineup as soon as possible. I think he's a critical player, not as a leader. I think the team is old enough and mature enough now where they really don't need this quote-unquote leadership from Terry Pendleton. What they do need is his ability to be a switch hitter and to play good defense at third base and to get clutch hits, which he's done through his career. I think that's a quality player that they need. They need to get him in as soon as possible and healthy, although Jose Oliva's done a great job with this club. Remember, the catcher Lopez got off to a great start, but then once the league caught on to him a little bit, he's been struggling lately, and the same thing could happen to another young player. I think they need to go with Pendleton as soon as possible, and I would send Oliva down. I'd hate to do it because he's playing so well, but that's the decision I would make.
I agree. What do you think?
I think Pendleton needs to, be a member of the Atlanta Braves, but I don't know if they need to put him back in the lineup as soon as possible. You mentioned Lopez's quick start. Well, this could be happening with Oliva, and if you might as well just go with him until he cools off and then send him back down. There's no need to send him back down right away. I think that a decision has to be made on Gallagher right now as far as the roster move. If they're going to keep Mike Kelly as a right-handed stick against left-handed pitching, then what's the use in having Gallagher on the roster? I don't see a function for him. You don't need 6 outfielders. They already have 5. They're carrying 6 right now with Gallagher and Tarasco and Mike Kelly being 3 reserves. And you could keep Oliva up for a little while until his hot streak runs its course and then put Pendleton back in the lineup. I do agree with Ty. Pendleton needs to be in the lineup, but you don't need to rush him back if you've got someone that's on a hot streak like this.
I think the decision's going to have to be made because they're going to be bringing a pitcher up. I'll agree with you on the thing with Dave Gallagher. However, there's money that's an issue here. That's a veteran player, so I'm sure he earns a whole lot of money. If I don't know if that's a player that you can send to the minors. That may be a player that you just have to release. Another team can pick him up at a minimum, and then you're stuck with the bill. I don't know if that's a decision they want to make, although I don't think Gallagher will be with this team next year.
No. Another move could be with Pacoda if they want to keep Oliva. I don't know if Cox is sort of married to Pacoda ever since he signed him for that $1 million contract because he can play all the positions. He can play catcher even in a pinch. But they told us Cabrera could do that too, but we never saw him play.
Exactly.
But as far as the roster move, I don't see him moving Oliva right now in the middle of his streak. You mentioned that they had to bring up a pitcher for these doubleheaders. I don't think they do. They got 5 starters, and they have 6 games in 4 days, so why not move Bilecki into a starter role? You got 6 starters right there. They already carry 11 pitchers on the staff. There's no need to add a 12th just for one game. I think the Braves have already committed to this, and they're going to bring that Woodall guy up, and that'll screw the roster up for about a week. But as far as that move being mandatory, I don't see it. I see Bilecki getting a start, and you got Merker that's just ready to go every 3-4 days. He's proven his worth over the last couple starts, and I don't understand why they're doing that, bringing a guy up just for a doubleheader.
Well, it's been done before in the minor leagues, rather bringing a minor leaguer up for one game. I remember Los Angeles did that a couple of years ago with a guy named Ramon Martinez, came up in the minor leagues. Los Angeles pitchers were in a pinch. He shut out the Braves and then went right back down, and eventually it was back up. It's not an uncommon thing to bring a minor leaguer up for just one game.
No, I know it's not uncommon. I just don't see the Braves needing to do that with Bilecki on their roster.
I think they could get a real quality start with Woodall in this because the other team hadn't seen him, and he's been tearing it up in the minor leagues. They need to win, Jay.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think Bilecki's shown he can win from the starter hill.
Okay.
Okay, some good and bad points about that. We have a phone call. Thank you for calling. Caller, you're on the air. Hello?
Hello?
You're on the air.
Oh, okay. My friend Kevin and I have this ongoing debate. Actually, we have 2. Kevin thinks that Mark Wohlers should be the full-time closer, and I disagree. And Kevin thinks that the guy in the middle of hair is a toupee, and I think it's a hair weave.
Thanks for the call.
Thanks for the
Jay,
call.
you want to comment on that second thing?
No, what, the hair thing? Well, if you get a wall clipper, you can establish this effect. That's all you need is a little buzz job.
Okay, what about the first question?
Well,
Yeah.
Mark Wohlers, you want to hit on that first, Jay?
Wohlers could be a closer. What I don't understand, it's not. I don't think the problem with Wohlers is coming from Wohlers. When he comes into the game, he throws the ball by a hitter a couple times. He gets 2 strikes on him, and then he tries to work the guy deeper into the count. I don't understand why the pitching coaches and Cox included can't see this happening. He's struggling to get that 3rd strike or the out pitch. Why not just have him throw the ball by him every time? I mean, there's been cases where a player will foul off his fastball repeatedly, foul ball, foul ball, foul ball, and then he goes with a curve and there's a line drive base hit. It's just like, okay, well, the guy can't catch up to your fastball. Why are you messing around with another pitch? And he was told in spring training he had to learn the second pitch to be an effective closer. I don't see it. I see the ball, his fastball moves well. He's got great velocity, and I just see if they just let him throw hard, like Ernie Johnson says, good old country hardball, he could be more effective. However, while he's learning this pitch or a second pitch, he's not going to be the Braves closer.
What do you think, Ty?
Well, I think he's got a great overpowering fastball, and I agree with Jay. What I'd like to see him do is to use different parts of the plate. I think that it would do him good to knock a few people down. Greg Maddux over the weekend was in a pinch versus Sheffield, a very dangerous hitter. He got ahead on him and threw 2 high and tight pitches. He wasn't going to hit him, but he had good enough control to knock him off the plate, and then got him with a let-up pitch on a 2-2 count. I think Wohlers needs to learn something from that. He needs to come inside on some of these hitters and brush them off the plate. I think a lot of times people are leaning out over the plate and they're able to hit the curveball, like Jay was saying. And I think the Braves pitchers are really too nice. I don't think that they don't come in nearly enough. I think John Smoltz did that recently versus Montreal in a 6-2 win up at Olympic Stadium, and he was effective that game. I just think that these hard throwers need to come inside a little bit more and knock them off the plate.
Good point. Well, we have a phone call. Thank you for calling. Caller, you on the air.
Yes. Do you think an acquisition of Randy Myers is in the work?
Maybe. I think the cost for Randy Myers would be very expensive right now, and I think the Cubs would want pitching. That's something I don't think the Braves would really like to give up right now. Chicago is going to ask for a whole lot for Randy Myers because he does not blow many saves. He's got only 17 right now, which is in the middle of the pack. But when you realize the Cubs are such a lousy team and they don't give him many opportunities to save games, when you compare his saves against his blown saves, I think he's very successful. But with the number of relief pitchers that are expendable right now, there's not many. So Chicago realizes it, and they'd ask for a lot of young players. And I don't know if the Braves want to depart with a whole lot of youth for 1 year because Myers is inconsistent at times, and I don't know how much use you could get out of him for the upcoming years.
Okay.
That's a good point. I don't think the Braves will make a trade for an established closer like this because of the cost of the player. He like Ty said, he's going to command a high price, and the Braves aren't going to pay that price. They don't really need to either. The media and the fans are the only ones that say the Braves need a closer. I think the Braves themselves, the organization, don't think they need one. They have the best record in baseball. Why do you want to fool around? Everybody says Schuerholz has made that deal that's consummated the team every year. Well, the team's been in second place every year. It's never been a front runner like this. Okay, when you have the best team in baseball, you're not going out. I mean, you're going to listen to what people say, but you're not going out and actively seeking changes in this team. And I don't think they are right now.
Okay.
All right, thanks
for the call. Okay.
But we were talking about Oliva. Let me add this right quick. That could be what they're doing with him is setting him up to trade him because it's obvious that he has no future with the Atlanta Braves. Pendleton will be the third baseman until Chipper Jones takes over, and Oliva just doesn't have any room on the roster. They don't need a third baseman. They don't need a young third baseman or promising third baseman. So if they get him some playing time and some teams get interested, then maybe they could do an even-up swap with Oliva for a pretty good player. But I don't see Oliva hanging around.
Oh, no, I'm scared. I'm starting to think like Jay because I thought of the same thing.
Okay. Well, we have another phone call. Thank you for calling. Caller, you're on the air.
Hey, how y'all doing?
All right.
Hi.
Want to talk a little Falcon football, then get up and talk Georgia? Let's start with Georgia. I think we're going 13-0, winning national championship this year.
Oh, boy. I'd love to see it, but I don't think we'll see it. Why do you think they'll do it?
We'll either be really good or we're a sub-500 team, I think. You know, we got the schedule. If we win our games, then they got to give us the championship. You know, it's playing the hardest schedule in the nation. One of them, don't you think?
Well, it's going to be hard going into Tuscaloosa to play Alabama. Then they have to go down there to Gainesville, Florida Field, and play the Gators. I think that's going to be a very tough schedule to go along with home games with Tennessee and Clemson. They also have to go on the road to South Carolina, which is never
that's
easy.
That's one right there. We may not get past them, you know. But I want to talk to Falcons, the offensive linemen. They're bringing in a lot of people. You know, the guy they signed today and some of these other ones. Think they're any good?
Jay?
No.
I knew you were going to say that.
I think that the Falcons have made a big mistake in the last couple of years because they've given away offensive linemen. I think with the run and shoot, they have a tendency to jump on these finesse type blockers that can just make contact and ride the guy. They don't have any drive blockers. That's why they don't have a running game. They gave the first mistake was Freilich. I think he was the first all-pro lineman they gave up on, and that was a big mistake. And now it's just been gradual migration of all the linemen. They had a good line here before Glanville got here, and now I think they got a bunch of second string. They're really putting a lot of stock in this Roman Fortin. Well,
yeah, he's not big.
Well, you know, let's see how he does. I mean, they're saying he's one of the best linemen in the league, and he hasn't even played that much. I mean, you got to perform before you get a tag like a great lineman, an NFL caliber lineman like that.
I was looking at the wires, and there's a guy, big guy from Phoenix, Stuart Lee. He's like 6'9" or something. We might want to look into him.
Well, so, I mean, you know, if Buddy Ryan let him go, then that means he must not have any desire to play football. Size isn't...
I think he just didn't like playing for Buddy, which...
Well, then he's an idiot, because Buddy's a winner. How can he not like playing for Buddy?
I don't know.
All right, thanks for the call.
call.
You know, one thing I'm concerned about the Falcons is Lincoln Kennedy. I mean, this guy was weighing around 400 pounds this year. The guy has just been totally irresponsible. I mean, he's a young man, and here he is. He's letting himself get out of shape like this. Really, I think that it's a pitiful excuse for a human being to have a contract like he does and to weigh almost 400 pounds. He needs to get down to what about his playing size, 330?
Yeah, that's what he played at in college, I think.
So that's my main concern. We're looking at the Falcon offensive line as who they have right now and getting the weight off of some of these people.
You can throw Iron Butt in that category, too. They got Hayward, and he came into camp about 50 pounds overweight, saying he was going to be in shape. You know, they say he's a great blocker, but you got to get to the guy before you block him. And I'm sure he could block someone if he got to him, but when you're that overweight, you can't get to an NFL-type linebacker to block him. So the Falcons, to answer the guy's question, I don't know how they're going to be. They're really a question mark. They got a new coach, and on top of that, a lot of new players, a new system, both offensively and defensively. Their first couple games are going to tell a tale. You know, if they get off to a quick start, those players, they may start saying, hey, we can win, you know. But if they lose the first couple games, it'll be like, it's the same old stuff, you know. And they'll just sort of play hard every other week like they've been doing for the last, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10 years.
Yeah, I think they'll be lucky to go 7 and 9.
Yeah.
7 and 9, I think they'll be lucky to get.
Okay. Well, we have a phone call. Thank you for calling. Caller, you're on the air.
Hello?
You're on the air.
Oh, yeah, I've been in Atlanta a couple of years, and I'm just really excited about the uniform change the Falcons have made. I mean, you can really tell the difference between them and the Bulldogs now.
Oh,
Good point.
All right. Thanks for the call.
Although that was Glanville's doing, and there is some, they have an anniversary jersey, I think, this year, don't they? Where they have to wear red one game or whatever, and I think after they do that, if that comes off okay, they may switch back to the red because teams that wear black always seem to get a lot of penalty flags, don't they?
I tell you what, well, I hope they do play opposite of the Bulldogs because I think the Falcons are bad. I think they're going to have a losing season, so then I guess that means Georgia will have a good season.
No.
We'll see. Yeah, well, speaking of Georgia's season, that South Carolina game's got to be big.
That's the key to the whole thing.
It's like if they lose that game, everyone's going to start jumping on golf. Everyone's going to want to change this, change that. And if they win, they can just tell everyone to shut up and let's see how they do in the second game.
And that's going to be very critical going against Tennessee because I think they probably have about the best offensive line in the country. They've got 4 big-time potential NFL players on their offensive line. And if they get a quarterback who can lead that offense, Tennessee's going to be tough, but that's a big F, and Heath Schuler's a big guy to replace. Yeah. I think if Georgia gets Carolina at home, rather in Columbia, I think they'll be favored to beat those guys at home.
Okay. We have another phone call.
I cannot believe you.
They may open the season with a loss. Their opening schedule starts with UCLA, Georgia, and then Florida.
Okay, but Tennessee will be favored to beat
All right.
Georgia.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for calling. Calling you on the air.
Yeah, I got the $1 million question, and that is Tech going to beat Georgia this year in football?
Yes, they are.
We don't know.
Whoa.
I agree with her. She knows what's going on.
They could.
Okay.
She's had it going on before.
Thanks for the call. I think Tech needs to find themselves a quarterback. I think they have several good offensive linemen, but they're not going to do you much good if you don't have a running back or a quarterback. And Derek Stigall, I certainly don't think is going to be the answer at quarterback. They're going to have to depend on Donnie Davis to either get a whole lot better or this junior college player to come in and just create miracles for Bill Lewis. I also don't think Bill Lewis is that good of a coach. I think he had that one good year at East Carolina where he had a good group of seniors that year.
I agree with you about the coaching, but I think they have a pretty good quarterback. I think last year was just a adjusting year maybe for Donnie. I think he'll do better this year.
We hope. But, you know, the way the game is at the end of the year has everything to do with who's going to win. I mean, it's almost inverted in that, like we were talking about Georgia's football program. If they get off to a good start and have a good year, then Tech probably will beat them. but if they get off to a slow start and have a lousy year, they're going to go into that game thinking, boy, we really got to win this game, and it'll be like a Super Bowl to them, see? So it turns around on how the teams do. And Tech's the same way. When Tech's having a good year and a good program, they have a hard time beating Georgia, no matter how lousy they are, you know. And then vice versa. When Tech was 2-8 or 3-7, they seem to play better against Georgia because it's their whole season to these players.
The only time I can remember when that took effect was 1983. There was something like 2-9, and Georgia beat them 27-24, and Georgia was number 4 at the time. But that game's in Athens, so I think that's going to have a whole lot to say right there. I think Georgia's going to win that game, and I still think that they can win at least 7.
Okay, we'll see.
We'll see.
And if they don't, I'll come out on top anyway, because then I think Goff will be fired.
Okay. Okay, let's talk about the Braves again. Okay, the Braves have won 2 in a row against the lefties.
Yeah, but that could be awfully deceiving. I mean, the scores of these were 2-1 and 3-2. They got great pitching performances out of Greg Maddux and Kent Merker last night. This team, well, I'm glad at least they're playing Mike Kelly in the lineup now, and they got Dave Gallagher out of there. I mean, I just hated seeing him leading off batting 225. And not only that, Kelly, I would like to see him bat first sometime if he can get his average up, because the man was a 20-20 man in the minor leagues. He can steal you some bases. And if the other Kelly, Roberto, doesn't like leading off, well, then you can put him further down in the lineup against left-handers. I would like to see Bobby Cox make that move. Another move I'd like to see him make is that if Jeff Blauser's hurt this year, Martin Lipke's having a super year. That's a 300 hitter that has a good eye and can get a lot of walks. You got David Justice batting third, who's got one of the higher batting averages on the team with men in scoring position. The only reason he doesn't have a whole lot of RBIs is because the guys in front of him just don't get on base. I mean, Blauser just hasn't had it this year. I'd like to see Lemke moved up in the number 2 hole and get a little speed up there in the lineup in the 1 hole, and then maybe Justice will have a chance to knock in a few more runs.
That's a good point. I think we talked about that at Dirty Al's last week after the show. Lemke needs to move up in the lineup. He's consistently been a 300 hitter all year. Blauser hasn't been. It's time to make that switch. Let Blauser bat 8th, let Lemke bat 2nd, and see if we can get more run production. But to answer your question about lefties, I think that the addition of Roberto Kelly is a key here. As they go through the year, more and more teams will see that the Braves aren't as susceptible to lefties. And as other managers like to point out, they're trying to get into the Braves' head on this, and you know, they keep lining up lefties, and one of these guys, I think the guy last night, Cook, was it? He's not any good. I mean, teams are starting to pull lefties out of the minors, reclaiming them off waivers, just trying to get any old lefty into the game against the Braves because they think this is going to work. Well, if you don't have a quality left-hander, I think the Braves can beat anybody. That's a second-rate pitcher.
Right, if he is second-rate, I'd like to see Ryan Klesko hit against him anyway.
Yeah, Klesko's 2 for was 2 for 2 tonight with 2 doubles.
Mm-hmm.
So, they got to address that. You know, Cox is always a platoon guy, though. He's been that way for, 20 years. He's going to platoon his outfield, his infield, or whatever to get the guy batting right against the lefty and lefty against the righty. That's the way Cox likes to manage.
Yep.
Okay. Well, last month, Ty said that Frank Thomas could win the Triple Crown. What are his chances?
I think they're pretty good now that Paul O'Neill's not batting about 480 anymore. He's down below 400, around 385, and Thomas is right up there with them. He's going to compete with O'Neill and Kenny Lofton, I think, for the American League batting title. And home runs, he's going to have to compete with Griffey. And they're all, I think Griffey's leading by 2 home runs there. And then RBIs, I think Kirby Puckett's like 3 or 4 RBIs ahead. Yeah, Frank Thomas could win this thing.
Well, he's got 2 guys ahead of him in RBIs. I think that's what's going to be hard for Frank Thomas to do. I think he probably could win the home run title, like you said. And as long he's an average hit, more of an average hitter than the other power guys in the American League. So you got a good chance of winning the batting title, a good chance of winning the home run title. I don't know if he can win the RBI title because Carter's a great RBI guy, and Kirby Puckett is too. And when you got to climb over veteran players like that,
facility that Puckett plays
oh
in.
yeah. Plus they're veteran players. I mean, it's no fluke that they're up there. They know how to drive the guy in without getting a hit. You know, when you got a guy on third with 1 out, the thing the Braves struggle with, you'll see guys like Puckett and Carter hit a fly ball left field every time. I mean, that's like batting practice to them. But he does have a good shot at the Triple Crown, and everyone always talks about it, but you got to see it happen.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been, 30 years since it's happened?
He could do it. I don't think he will. He may not lead in any of those categories, to be honest with you. What amazes me here is that some of the comparisons that these so-called experts are making, compared to people like Ted Williams. And I just looked at some numbers, and I looked at Ted Williams, 6 years of his career. At the beginning of his career, starting around 1941, that was his 3rd year, and when you stretch from 41 to 49, Ted Williams didn't play for 3 years during that time because he was in World War II. And the man won 2 Triple Crowns during that time. During that year, he led the league in home runs 4 times. He led the league in batting something like 4 times. Led the league in runs scored 5 times. Led the league in walks all 6 times. And what's amazing about him is that I believe he won the Triple Crown after his 3-year layoff. So if Frank Thomas is going to be mentioned with these same people, I want to see him do something like that about 5 years in a row. Then you can mention him with these other players.
All right, you scared me. I thought you were going to say he needs to go in the service for 3 years, and then he can win the Triple Crown.
Okay. We have a phone call. Thank you for calling. Calling you on the air.
Hey, guys, I want to get you to comment on Albert Bell's corked bat.
Well, Jay,
Is he good? No comment. We don't know whether he's guilty or not until his appeal's over.
Oh, really? You don't think the fact that they stole the bat from the clubhouse indicates any guilt?
They switched that bat around so many times now, I don't know what's been in it.
Where's Robert Shapiro when you need him?
Yeah, you got that.
He's got his hands full, I'd say.
All right, thanks for the call.
call.
I tell you where that might hurt them is that if Albert Bell has to miss 10 games, if he misses them now or misses them in the stretch against Chicago, that could cost them the Central Division or even a playoff berth.
Well, the reason he's appealing is because they play Chicago for the last time this weekend. So by appealing, he gets out of missing the Chicago series. Then they're done with them. He can sit out against some of the lesser teams, maybe the AL West. But it's a trade-off. You know, when you think about it, maybe the cork in the bat made his bat quicker, and he hit some game-winning home runs, okay? So you trade him off for 10 games for winning maybe 3-4 games with his cork bat. I don't know. I like Blauser's comment today when he said, it's just something that shouldn't be discussed.
Oh, yeah, right. now I see why he's making $3.75 million now.
Yeah. Well, maybe if Blauser corked his bat, he could remain in the number 2 hole in the order.
Okay, another point about baseball. What is the biggest difference between last year and this year?
Well, when you look at some of the clubs from last year and this year, I think your biggest differences are with Toronto and with San Francisco. When you look at Toronto, I thought that this team was on their way to possibly win another division title over here. But then here it is. You've had Stewart just having an atrocious year, and then who's the other side? Guzman. I think they both have ERAs over 6. I mean, Toronto really wasn't counting on that, but it's happened this year, and that's one of the reasons they're not up there. And not only that, they've had injuries.
That's a good point. I think the biggest difference for me is Philadelphia. Philadelphia got off to a real quick start last year and then just sort of rode it down out and won their division, and then they were the media darlings, and they had all those goofballs on that team, and they kind of rode that popularity that they gained. And this year they got off to a slow start. Then they had injuries, and they ditched Mulholland to the American League, and they're just a totally different team. I don't think the Phillies could get it together and make a run at the Western Division leaders, much less the Braves and the Expos, and that's a big difference. And another difference is San Francisco. We all said last year that, that could be a good team, and who sat here and said, no, they're all having career years. You'll see next year they stink. And even though
Don't
they've
count
won,
them out.
maybe not. They've won 7 or 8 games in a row, but they were 15 games below 500. They could win 15 games in a row just to get back to 500. That wouldn't catch the Dodgers.
They're only batting 240 as a team right now. If you can keep Darryl Strawberry off the crack and keep him in that lineup, with the years that Bonds and Matt Williams are having, this team needs Robbie Thompson badly. There's a number 2 hitter that can hit you 15 home runs easily. And then also they've had a lot of injuries to their pitchers. Jackson, the reliever, Kenny Rogers, another spot reliever, and Bud Black. They need these pitchers. And San Francisco's pitching staff has been really good despite this. I think they've had an ERA of something like about 3.8. And for the year as a team, and with having all those injuries, I think that the pitching staff has been great for them. They just need to get some hitting on that club.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point. Although you mentioned Robbie Thompson, he cannot come back this year. He will not be back from the disabled list.
Definitely won't be back.
He's on the 60-day disabled list, and I don't think they're planning on bringing him back. And he's a catalyst, like you said. Without him, they really stink. And Strawberry, you can't say, look, whoa, what a good move that is, because he's only played, 6 or 7 games, and
right.
Adrenaline has taken over. I mean, he had to be excited about getting back in the league. Let's see what happens in another 2 weeks if they start pitching to him rather than the other sticks in the lineup. Right now, he's hot, so they're trying to give Matt Williams a few more pitches, Bonds a few more pitches. Bonds hitting the ball of the park, But I think the pitching staff in the National League will see that Strawberry was just a temporary thing, and they'll start throwing around Williams and pitching to Strawberry.
We'll see.
We'll see. Okay, we have a phone call. Thank you for calling. Caller, you're on the air.
Hello?
You're on the air.
Yeah, I want to know how you feel about the World Cup being decided on penalty kick.
I didn't like it. I didn't like it one bit. Jay, what do you think?
It was exciting, except that since I'd picked Italy, I was hoping that the best player in the world could hit an empty net like that. I mean, you could tell they were tired, and that's the soccer people. That's their point is, if you're so tired you can't even hit a penalty kick, just think if that thing would have been sudden death overtime, players would start dropping like flies.
If you do that, maybe you need to make changes. Maybe you should allow more substitutions for things like that.
Okay. Thanks for the call. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready to go to Dirty Al's.
Yeah. We can talk about the World Cup if you want to.
Maybe think of a new ways to settle scoreless games here now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they have to do something. It's kind of unfair that it all comes down. It's like an NBA championship coming down to a free throw shooting contest, It's like, okay, it's tied after 2 overtimes. Let's just shoot free throws.
Good point. Hey, I'd like to thank you guys and thank our callers and viewers, and we'll see you next week, same time, same station.